Hi, this is Bob Weiss. I'm the host of Shaking Your World. Cheers.
Folks, welcome home. Yet another episode of Shaking Your World here at the magnificent Shakers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have with us a world beater. We have a guy that's coming to town from New York City to change the complexion of the entire country, nay, perhaps the entire world, through a very innovative format of farming. Chris, welcome to Shakers. First and foremost, cheers. Good to have you.
Cheers, Bob. Thank you. Good to
So here, let's tell us the story, man.
Yeah, so here we are back after an interesting 14 months. You know, it's good to see you again. And we have a unique idea on how urban farming, inner city farming can, one step at a time, kind of change the food system. It's, as I've been saying a lot, it's about a lot of little wins adding up to something big these days, because we all learn that big plans can disappear overnight. So we're excited right now over the next couple of months to bring something really special to Milwaukee this summer.
Well, this is, in my mind, this is much bigger than I think that you're very low-key out to be. I think that this really is something that, again, has the potential to change much of the way that the entire world looks at food. So different iterations of this have taken place before. If you think about Bill Gates' announcements in January and February, how there's going to be a massive shortage of food, which of course is social engineering coming through right now. We do have significant shortages that are here. Look at chickens and pork and the ridiculous steep price raises that have taken place in prime beefs. And now that's just going to continue onward. We have a real rough summer in front of us with this drought situation. And your plan mitigates or sidesteps the opportunity for droughts or for Mother Nature to make a big impact.
Absolutely. The first thing that we kind of think about is what food security really means. Mm-hmm. And it's not just a social issue, it's also a business issue.
Okay.
And of course, it's an environmental concern. But from our perspective, there's two things you're talking about. We're talking about supply chain resilience, mm-hmm. right? Or the broken supply chain that we're all suffering from. And that's a business issue. And we're really trying to provide a business solution for the benefit of the consumer.
Okay.
So the second thing is around food security with actually supporting healthier decisions, right? So, our model is one, trying to provide a product for the businesses mm-hmm. locally, hyper-locally, 100 miles or less. And then secondly, in doing that, we offer an educational interface and also new jobs with income. And there's nothing more powerful than knowledge and money, right, to influence your decision making and then make better life decisions. So it's not just about the business and the supply chain, and it's not just about securing social benefits, it's about bringing the two together so that we have a long-term scalable solution.
And education is the key for all that. So I'm thrilled with what you're doing. So let's back up a step. What are you calling the company?
So my firm is called Planet to Plate. Mm-hmm. It's pretty obvious and a natural fit on what we're trying to do. We're really trying to get people reconnected and reestablish that relationship between Planet to Plate. Frankly, I think that there's been a disconnect for many years now. I know that you can empathize with that as a fellow chef, right? We have a real passion for that. But one thing that I learned in my prior career as a chef was that there's a real disconnect between the chef and the farmer. And to me, that's the most unnatural syndrome of the actual food system. So I kind of fast forward, and now we're trying to not just bring farmer and chef and farmer back together, but to have people in the middle celebrate that. Businesses, communities, hell, even politicians, right? And if you could forward that along, Planet to Plate itself is really a community development firm. Our focus is on how we can work into a community and provide a comprehensive solution. Take that a step further, our first product is the 100 Acre Farm. Okay, that's the name of the project. We consider that a product of ours. It's one of many solutions ahead in the grand vision of Planet to Plate. So again, it's 100 Acre Farm powered by Planet to Plate. And it's going to be launching on the north side of Milwaukee this summer in a building called Century City with a great number of supporters, community partners, customers, folks like yourself who are really patrons to the area, and we couldn't be more excited.
Fantastic. I have long maintained, and we've had this conversation, that much of the farm to table is a fallacy. So if you're in the Midwest, you're in the North, you can't access things within that 50-mile zone. We have beautiful summer here for, let's say, 5 months of the year.
If you're
or
lucky.
growing conditions, right?
Yeah.
So the rest of the time, you can't forage things here, you can't farm things here, you can't ranch things here, you have to get things from other places, which in my mind dispels, again, the farm to table. So I also think there's a huge problem with what's considered to be organically grown, what is considered to be natural. So a situation like yours, where you are there growing this product here in your factory, and you have great control over things. You control not just the weather, but pests and all sorts of things from a natural perspective, right? You're creating a higher quality product in many ways than people have been exposed to for years, because you're there, you're growing it, and it's right in our backyard. And it's every week of the year.
Absolutely, every week. And our perspective is that it's sort of this outside-in consideration with an inside-out solution, right? I know that sounds a bit silly, but frankly, it's not just about the health and wellness of the crop when it comes to organics and pest control, but also the people that make up these crops. That's a big problem in this country. It's about the labor that gets behind the growing. It's the distance and where one thing comes from a far-off place, and the purchasing and the consumption is not benefiting the local area.
Sure.
So we really consider ourselves to be in the business of people and content, and of course, and really the greens are means to an end for us. So we want to really stabilize the notion of that supply chain of growing, not to take it for granted, but to become experts in that, and then really work on the larger issues at play, which is around health and mental wellness, food as medicine, businesses that really want to reinvest their purchasing power into their surrounding community. I mean, it's already happening, so why not provide a platform for it to be done easier? And one of the greatest things I think we've decided in the past few months is a parameter around what hyperlocal means. There's some UN standard that I think pegs it at 350, 250 miles. That doesn't really make sense to us. It's not about the trucking and burning the oil and going from one location to the other. Yes, okay, that's not good. But it's the disconnect from a social standpoint. And we've set a limit on our radius at 100 miles, which means our farms are not going to be any larger than a certain size because they can't grow more than is needed. And that's a big problem. We grow more than is needed. We produce more than is needed. So we're capping our model. And yes, we could make more profit, but that's not the way to do this. It's by creating more of these and creating a really healthy, resilient network.
Sure. Well, I was first smitten with the concept of a factory farm, or aquaculture perhaps, and pharmaculture, or whatever else we call this today, at Epcot Center about 40 years ago. And I said, this is the coolest thing ever, because you've got this process taking place from the nutrients of one plant benefiting the next plant, and you've got this recycling system, which just is fantastic, right?
Yep.
So you eliminate so much of your issues with groundwater saturation and with effluent material and anything else taking place. So it's not gone, but you revitalize a lot of that, repurpose that in a very positive capacity.
Right.
And I think that as we progress as citizens on this rock, hurtling through space, we have to find some way to stabilize what we're doing here, because we have just lived off the land for so long, and we just expect things to keep growing and growing and to be nutritious, and that isn't remotely the case. And if you continue to farm the same plot of land the same manner, you take the nutrients out of that all the time. You have to substitute that with foreign materials, and it's just not the same product.
Absolutely. And I think really what you're talking about, another thing that the buzzword that we use is around consumption consciousness.
Okay.
And it's not just about the food you eat and put inside your body, the calories that might represent, whether or not it's going to make you fit or not from an aesthetic, but it's about where does the food come from, and then thereafter, where does the waste go? And understanding your role in that, right? The biodiversity, the symbiosis of all things food. Food to us is almost a medium for business, but it's also a symbolic conversation that we're having. Again, as a chef, you understand that cooking and tasting good is absolutely a foundation, but then you're able to exchange ideas and actually share in more of this in a real world context. And what's happening now is it's not Epcot Center, right? It's not the Imaginarium, it's real. And COVID, whatever it might be, a pandemic today, another catastrophe tomorrow, it's awareness. And we're actually starting to have real conversations, real solutions top down, it's not always about top down from a governmental perspective. It's bottom up with people and businesses and folks like you and I and the other ones that are supporting us, actually getting the voice out and giving an opportunity for people to do something. And anyone can do anything at this point. It's amazing.
So I have to ask you, you have been working this pony for a while, and I'm glad it's finally come to fruition for you, but you had some obstacles in the city. Who right now is the biggest champion that you've got in the city of Milwaukee, politically, that's really moving this for you?
Oh boy, that's a great question. So from a political standpoint, and I don't really dabble in politics, and I'm just learning about that now, but I am comfortable to talk about some of these folks. First and foremost, at the Department of City Development, right, here in Milwaukee, we've had someone standing by our side, helping us where they can and really guiding us, because after all, it's called the Department of City Development. So David Miskey has been a real champion in hanging in there with our processes. We figure it out, understanding that here and there we took a step back, but we need to keep pushing forward. So just as I have not given up on Milwaukee and the investment and the interests, both personally and mentally and emotionally, other folks have also not given up on me. And that's really, really rewarding. I don't know if you see that in a lot of cities. I really don't think you do, because everything here is very accessible. From additional political considerations, Alderman Rainey, I've had really not just forward-thinking and positive conversations, but warm and real conversations. Alderman Rainey is a unique individual from my perspective, because immediately after getting on the phone, I didn't feel like I was talking to a politician. I'm talking to a person. Yes, they have their job and I have mine. We kind of put that aside, and we found that food once again it broke down the barriers. It broke down the status quo of how we should be talking to each other, and it was just like, we think we're going to have a lot of fun doing this, and we're going to be successful, and we're all going to benefit. So I'd really like to thank David Miskey and Alderman Rainey.
Good to hear. Very good to hear. Now, from a labor standpoint, and I don't think you've had a chance to hear me, but I have a radio program as well on WLIP, and I frequently talk about artificial intelligence, I talk about robotics, I talk about a variety of things that are there for the future and for now, and are going to really be integral to what we do from henceforth. What are you doing in your operation? Are you still using people? Is some of this automated? What's going on?
So you're asking about some trade secrets, but I'll share here and there. So first and foremost, at the end of the day, a farm is still about a community, and a community is made up of people. We're not looking for some large cap investment from Silicon Valley where we replace people with robots. Again, just as I can scale my farm and make more profit through efficiencies, we cap that. The same thing goes with the technologies that we employ. We need people involved in this for it really to be successful as a business model, just as much as a movement. So we're trying to find a delicate balance between how people, workers, training, right? Education, training, and career placement in future food tech careers fits alongside that tech portion, right?
Bravo.
We have some really exciting partners coming into the fold. I can mention one with confidence. General Electric is going to be a supplier of the sun for us. And so it's about thinking of how these efficient technologies can make the business work, while it can then support sustainable careers so that they can work. It's not about kicking one out in exchange for the other. So we have a dedicated workforce development program. It's still under development, of course. We got to get our house in order and figure out how this platform will become a pipeline across the school system, then into apprenticeship, and eventually into these sustainable careers. And we hope that we're not the only one that's employing in this, okay? But of course, we do recognize that we need talent. We need folks that sign up and are willing to come to work and do a good job, because we have a plan to build many more of these. Many more of these micro farms within inner cities that helps people from the inside out, and it's all gonna be done through the people.
That's fantastic. So if you think about the number of Rust Belt cities that we have in the upper Midwest, and they are just dying for something like this, aren't they? And you've got all these urban centers that, again, have been left behind so much by city governments in different places, and they are really an afterthought. And the opportunity to interact with them is fantastic, not just to feed and to fuel them, but certainly to feed their minds as well, give them that educational background and that connectivity that takes place then, that helps them to continue on with school and to move ahead. This is all fantastic. So
Yeah, thank you.
what is your actual projected output to be at this first location?
I was hoping you would ask that. So it's an interesting way that the model has shaken out as we've worked really hard to both pivot pre-COVID from a different type of focus to now where we're at. A 5,000 square foot facility, which in fact is what this is,
Okay.
will approximately yield around 5,000 pounds a month.
Wow.
Available on a weekly basis, consistent, fresh cut, barely handled, which is very important, and available 52 weeks a year, again, consistently, so that it really does nestle into that supply chain resilience and support the other surrounding businesses. Because we don't expect to do it all. We expect the businesses to do it together to support folks.
Sure.
So again, 5,000 square feet can yield around 5,000 pounds a month. You know, we're looking at 60,000 pounds on the lower end of leafy greens and herbs. And as you start to look at some of the more efficient crops, we're getting very excited about what that could mean. But at the end of the day, this farm is here to service two people: the business customers, the food business customers local to the area who are looking to participate and leverage that investment.
Sure.
And then with that, turning it back to the people. So really the crops themselves, the yields, that's sort of, consider us a very optimized canvas for opportunity.
That's nice. So you're working at this point with primarily leafy green things, right?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, are you getting into, let's say, tomatoes, for example?
The chef in me wants to say yes. We're going to have to stay tuned on that. But what we are excited about in the ag tech industry is that there's been massive movements forward in the advancements of how this is possible.
Okay.
And we do think that that's something that we can evolve to. Right now, again, it's around establishing a foundation. Leafy greens and basil, while it might be considered a commodity by some, and I know you and I really respect it, it's nutrient packed, and that's really where we want to start. That's the foundation to build off of. Hopefully, we can actually work into something more like fruits and really exciting, tasty items. We hope that eventually we'll be able to supply an entire dish of salad, not just the lettuce, but from bottom to top, that can signify what is possible when both people and technology come forward and create new solutions. Ours is food, yours is food, that's our medium, but this is happening all around us in other industries, so stay tuned for tomatoes. So an interesting path that I've taken, and I might not recommend it within a business school for the standard entrepreneurial student, right? It's not the most efficient or prudent way of doing things, but the real passion that I had coming out of being an amateur chef, professional, yes, but not the best, just understanding the kitchen environment and then deciding to launch into a business, I developed a curriculum. And the curriculum to me is sort of an educational curriculum around what we called Farm Food Fun. The program itself is called Edible Learning.
Okay.
And it's around how you can both grow, cook, and market food in a sustainable way and find so many opportunities for career development.
Okay.
Right? And this applies across all incomes, all races, religions around the world. So that program kind of acts as a binding agent as I thereafter developed my business plan. That program, we took and tested in the South Jersey market in a town called Burlington.
Okay.
A distressed town indeed. You might consider it an East Coast Rust Belt town.
Okay.
But also with really passionate people and interested students in what they wanted to do. So we brought that program to test in that market, and my team came down, and what we thought was, why not take sustainable food programming and marry it with sustainable infrastructure, green infrastructure? Why is infrastructure and community development not tied together in a greater way? And it was sort of a symbolic moment where we had this very simple educational curriculum and this very basic community garden that was being built in a methodical, meticulous, professional way, and they came together. And what ended up happening was not only did we build out an incredible green space, but the students that we attracted understood that it's about infrastructure, transforming something from nothing to living, and then taking that living and understanding how you can turn that into income, good income, and you can eat it and you can celebrate. And that is really what this curriculum embodied. And that's kind of the origins of our efforts. It came from a program that we continue to follow, edible learning.
Magnificent. So I was involved in a project back in 2008, 9, somewhere in there. It was a 6-story building that we're doing. It was a vertical farming situation, 50,000 square feet, and it just turned out that was just a untenable project because it was too large, it was too vast. Couldn't get the financing, couldn't get the sustainability, and maybe stretching too far for something that wasn't yet available.
Right.
So I'm really enamored with this little 5,000 square foot footprint that you've got going on, and I think that you're clearly onto something here because you've got economies of scale are going to work in your favor in so many ways, and yet you don't have this massive footprint to deal with. This is a very cool thing.
Versatile, agile, and sensitive, I think, is kind of what we're trying to create.
Sounds like the ideal girlfriend, doesn't it?
Exactly. There you go, babe. But yeah, with that in mind, you know, we have some really interesting ideas on how this can scale. It's important to think about scalability with sensitivity. It's not about just building bigger for more money, more revenue, more profit.
Yep.
It's about doing it within a way that promotes social equity,
Yep.
food equity, and a return on community, frankly. Investors are important. They are the most important folks in a certain area, in my mind, to help catalyze these types of initiatives.
Sure.
But ultimately, if it runs out of money, it's no good for anyone. But if it only makes money, it's bad for everyone. And I think that we're onto something with this idea. You know, some people consider it to be maybe the future social franchise within food systems. And we're excited to maybe be one of many that can carry that torch. And again, I couldn't be more happy to be in a city like Milwaukee that has this rich heritage around agriculture, around manufacturing, where fast forward, we're now bringing it back. It's a renaissance that's happening in light manufacturing with sustainable, good jobs, healthy food, and business relationships that we really look to bring together.
That's an interesting perspective that I think you're bringing to this. And I have to ask, are you dealing with the state of Wisconsin for their ag business as well?
So we are not currently working actively with the state of Wisconsin. There is sort of a passive conversation that's happening, but very soon we would like to unveil a partner at the 100 Acre farm, the farm manager himself, who has an incredible experience and history in both farming from the ground up within his own space, working with other farmers, especially underprivileged farmers, around food safety.
Sure.
Food safety, food safety. What good is it if it gets recalled?
Yep.
And it's difficult to do that. And then lastly, where does this come from? He's had some really deep ties and success with the Wisconsin ag departments. And we're proud to be pulling together that partnership, and we'll be announcing that soon. So you know, in line with community, we just want to, you know, kind of bring attention again to our incredible partners over at Century City. In fact, they are the Good City Brewing owners.
Okay.
And you know, over at Century City, they're going to be launching a really great farmers market later this summer.
Sure.
It's going to, of course, be very community centric. We're going to have a lot of food businesses there, not just farmers, but chefs and other community activists. And a big anchor behind this is going to be the educational component. Our organization is excited to sponsor it. We're willing to participate in any which way we can. We feel like we are the most welcome guests coming into town. And you know, as this rolls out, we'll have more detail on that. And we hope that you can participate. We hope that you'll be there.
I'd be honored. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate at some point, as you get up and operational, that you're going to have a mobile unit as well that's going to go out to the people? This is what we've got to help disseminate something?
I think that the opportunity is absolutely there. Would we be doing that? I think my answer at this point would be we would really be excited for some partners to approach us.
Stay focused on what you do best.
We want to do what we do best and then provide that opportunity once again for businesses. And we, hint, might really get behind some of those community partners that would like to launch such a business. It should go mobile. It should come to the people. It's by the people. And so more to come.
Excellent. Chris, this has been a very illuminating conversation. I'm glad that you're back in Milwaukee. I'm glad that you're getting this thing running. I'm glad you're under construction right now, and I can't wait to see your product when it's there. Actually, I want to see it before it's there. But
Absolutely.
This has been a treat. My friend, thank you very much. Congratulations, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Folks, those of you at home watching us, I do appreciate your time. Again, it's important, imperative, nay, that you be good to yourself and to those you love. Cook whatever you want, but own it yourself and make it your style. And don't apologize for what you're doing in the kitchen, because most people don't bother. Cheers to everybody. Thank you. There we are.
All right.